I'm tired.
You tired?
Just tired.
They lit up the screen, then left us with words that still echo. In this tribute, we reveal the haunting final moments of legendary actors, paired with young and old images that show how time reshapes even icons. Like a stage dimming to black, Joan Plowright's legacy glows on. The enchanted April star, a force of British theatre and film, died at 95. Her parting words, "The curtain falls, but the love remains," echo a lifetime of grace. Her death renewed global reverence for classical acting's enduring soul. He once electrified screens in The French Connection. Now Gene Hackman's final words, "Keep telling the truth, even when it's hard," whisper louder than any line he delivered. Passing at 95, his death reignited dialogue around aging with dignity in Hollywood and honoring raw honesty in performance. Best known as the loyal forest ranger in Lassie, Jack DeMave met the end like he lived, grateful. "Every day was a new adventure. Thank you for the ride," he said, just before dying at 91. His passing rekindled appreciation for the golden era of family television and unsung screen heroes. Like a closing scene in musical, Jan Shepard, who once serenaded audiences alongside Elvis and King Creole, left us at 96 with a parting note. "I hope my song lingers in your hearts." Passing peacefully, her final words now echo through classic cinema's halls, a tribute to art that outlives the artist. Known as the intense war photographer Rafterman in Full Metal Jacket, Kevin Major Howard's lens captured more than film. It exposed truth. Before cancer claimed him at 69, he whispered, "Capture the light and never let it go." His last line became a mantra for artists seeking truth through adversity. As Miss Yvonne from Pee-wee's Playhouse, Lynn Marie Stewart radiated quirky joy to generations. At 78, cancer dimmed her spotlight, but not her spirit. Her farewell, "Laughter is the best legacy, keep laughing for me," reminds us that comedy isn't fleeting, it echoes beyond the curtain call. She gave voice to Sondheim's Shadows and Dreamers. Merle Louise's final bow came at 90. "Sing out, Louise. The show must go on," she quipped, echoing the theater that defined her. Her passing reignited reverence for Broadway's character actors, those who carved emotion into every supporting line. Like a spotlight fading with a final spin, Mitzi Gaynor danced off life's stage at 93. Her parting words, "Dance like everyone's watching and loving it," capture a spirit that dazzled in South Pacific. Her death sparked fresh appreciation for Golden Age musicals and joy as defiance in performance. Once solving crimes on British screens, Paul Hugh Moriarty left audiences with one final enigma. "Life's a mystery. Enjoy every twist." At 86, his death marked the quiet end of a steady career. It reminded fans that not all legacies are loud. Some are stitched into decades of dependable brilliance. He played formidable forces in Street Fighter and Necessary Roughness, yet Peter Navy Tiasosopo's truest strength was off-screen. Before his sudden passing at 61 for heart failure, he offered this parting wisdom: "Strength is in kindness." Remember that. A legacy of gentle power now etched into action cinema's heart. Before we continue these amazing celebrity transformations, here's a quick challenge for you. Can you subscribe to Then vs. Now Legends in the next 5 seconds? Smash that subscribe button and join us on this journey through time with your favorite stars. From Cheers to Shakespeare, Robert McCrae's voice carried gravity and grace. At 79, after a quiet cancer battle, his final words, "Let the stage lights guide you home," felt like a curtain call to life itself. A lifelong actor, his exit reframed death as one last scene played with poise and poetry. With razor wit in Young Frankenstein and Tootsie, Terry Garr turned vulnerability into art. At 80, after a long battle with multiple sclerosis, she left us laughing through tears. Her final advice, "Find the funny even in the tough moments," now feels like a masterclass in courage through comedy. From a soldier's story to quiet supporting brilliance, Art Evans shaped scenes with soul. At 82, his final words, "Every role taught me something. Thank you for watching," felt like a bow to the audience itself. His passing renewed respect for character actors who taught us truth between the lines. As George Roper in George and Mildred, Brian Murphy made awkwardness into art. At 92, he toasted his finale, cheers to a life well lived and well laughed. His death sparked reflection on British sitcoms' golden age and the actors who turned everyday flaws into something warmly unforgettable. Like a good teacher's final lesson, John Lawler's parting words, "Stay curious, stay kind," were simple, wise, and lasting. Best known for the facts of life, he passed at 83. His quiet legacy sparked reflection on educators on screen and the real-life impact of calm, steady mentorship in chaotic times. A familiar face in Woody Allen classics like Annie Hall, Tony Roberts brought charm to every frame. At 85, his final bow came after a quiet battle with heart complications. He signed off with grace. The final act is gratitude. Thank you all. A farewell that feels like applause from the soul. He scored generations with genius, Thriller, Color Purple, and beyond. At 92, Quincy Jones left the world not with music, but meaning, "I love you eternally." His death from natural causes became a cultural coda, reminding us that the most lasting rhythm is love, composed from a lifetime of impact. Outlaw poet, silver screen rebel, Chris Christopherson gave voice to heartache and grit. At 89, Parkinson's claimed the man, but not his spirit. His last words, simply, "I love you," spoke volumes. A minimalist's masterpiece, closing the life of a troubadour who taught us that silence can also sing. Once cinema's brooding icon in Le Samurai, Alain Delon exited with calm clarity, "I will leave this world without feeling sad." At 89, his death reopened debate around end-of-life autonomy in Europe. His legacy lingers not just in cool stares, but in questions he dared to ask aloud. As Sandy in Grease, she sang innocence and transformation. Olivia Newton-John's last words, "My sunshine," to her daughter spoke volumes. Dying at 73 after a long cancer battle, her farewell fueled deeper awareness of chronic illness and how strength often sounds like a whisper, not a scream. Like a scene stealer slipping off stage mid-laugh, Cloris Leachman left us with just 2 words, "Remember me." At 94, the Oscar and Emmy winners' passing rekindled admiration for comedic timing with dramatic depth. Her death reminded us that legacy lives longest when laughter still echoes. Black Panther made him a symbol of strength. Yet off-screen, Chadwick Boseman battled colon cancer in silence. At just 43, his whispered last words, "God, let your will be done," were a surrender to something larger. His passing sparked global reflection on purpose, grace, and courage. A rising Disney star, Cameron Boyce radiated energy and promise in Descendants and Jessie. At 19, a sudden epileptic seizure took his life. His final words, "I love you, Mom and Dad," echo with innocence and devotion. His death fueled urgent conversations around youth epilepsy awareness. Known for speed and soul in Fast and Furious, Paul Walker's final ride began with casual words, "I'll be back in 5 minutes." At 40, a fatal car crash ended more than a scene. It paused a legacy mid-frame. His death redefined celebrity mortality, sparking renewed focus on road safety. From Glee's bright lights to quiet heartbreak, Corey Monteith's final words, "If you say so," echo softly at the age of 31. His death from addiction complications reignited conversations around fame, mental health, and relapse, reminding fans that behind every spotlight, shadows often linger unseen. Like a sitcom rerun with a darker final act, Gary Coleman's life played out far from the laughter he once sparked. At 42, he said, "I love you, and my head hurts." His sudden passing from a brain hemorrhage prompted reflection on child stardom's toll and the price of early fame. She once stunned in Charlie's Angels. Later, Farrah Fawcett demanded truth in dying. "Why aren't you filming this?" "This is what cancer is," she asked. At 62, her candid final days challenged glossy portrayals of terminal illness, opening space for honest, unfiltered conversations about pain and dignity. From Dirty Dancing to Ghost, Patrick Swayze embodied both passion and vulnerability. At 57, pancreatic cancer dimmed his fire, but not his faith. "I'm not afraid to die. I'm going home," he said with quiet resolve. His final words reminded millions that strength lies in facing the end without fear. She lit up stage and screen with elegance, from The Parent Trap to Broadway acclaim. After a skiing accident at 45, Natasha Richardson reportedly told her husband, "Oh, darling, I've taken a tumble in the snow." That simple phrase became a chilling echo of fragility cloaked in calm. Her sparkle and clueless in 8 Mile made Brittany Murphy unforgettable. At just 32, pneumonia and complications ended her life suddenly. In her final moment, she cried out, "I'm dying. I'm going to die. Mommy, I love you." A heartbreaking plea that revealed the raw fear beneath Hollywood's shimmer. Like a film reel ending mid-scene, Paul Newman's legacy of cool grace, cool hand Luke, the hustler, froze with the words, "Yeah, it's been a hell of a ride." The Oscar winner, philanthropist, and race car enthusiast died at 83 of cancer, leaving behind a blueprint for living fully, on and off screen. Once transformed into the Joker with haunting brilliance, Heath Ledger's final words to his sister, "It'll be fine. I just need to get some sleep," now echo with tragic weight. Dead at 28 from accidental overdose, his death fueled urgent conversations about pressure, method acting, and mental health in Hollywood. He made generations laugh, but Bob Hope's last punchline, "Surprise me," when asked about burial, was a mic drop at life's end. Dying at 100 from pneumonia complications, the comedy legend's wit endured to the last breath, proving that humor, when true to its core, can defy even mortality. A comic virtuoso in Arthur and a classically trained pianist, Dudley Moore faced a rare brain disorder with grace. As PSP silenced his body, he whispered, "I can hear the music all around me." At 66, his finale wasn't laughter, but melody, a reminder that some rhythms never fade. An R&B prodigy and rising film star, Aaliyah soared in Romeo Must Die, then boarded a final flight at 22. Before takeoff, she reportedly said, "You know, I gotta do it." Those casual words became a haunting overture. Her death reframed fame's pace, igniting debates on industry safety and pressure. He mentored comedy giants, from Tina Fey to Bill Murray, but behind improv's bravado, Del Close bore existential weight. At 65, as brain failure closed the curtain, he quipped, "I'm tired of being the funniest person in the room." Even in death, he taught that truth lands harder than punchlines. Once America's sweetheart on Different Strokes, Dana Plato's final whisper, "I'm just tired," revealed a lifetime behind the spotlight. Dying at 34 from prescription drug overdose, her story became a cautionary tale of child stardom, sparking deeper awareness of addiction and exploitation in young actors. The voice that serenaded the 20th century fell silent with just 3 words, "I'm losing." Frank Sinatra, the icon behind My Way, died at 82 of a heart attack. His quiet surrender marked the end of an era, but his swagger, sorrow, and song remained stitched into American memory. "I'm going to be with Gloria now," Jimmy Stewart said, his voice laced with longing. It's a Wonderful Life star, who charmed post-war America, died at 89 of a pulmonary embolism. His last words weren't farewell. They were a reunion, turning personal love into his final performance. He was the whirlwind of SNL, comic force who masked pain with punchlines. At just 34, an overdose ended the laughter too soon. His last words, "Don't leave me," were a plea wrapped in vulnerability. Farley's passing reshaped how Hollywood views addiction, turning excess into a cry for empathy. The Queen of Tejano music, Selena's voice united cultures before betrayal shattered the stage. At 24, after being shot by her manager, her final words, Yolanda 158, identified her killer's room. That moment, both tragic and defiant, transformed her into a symbol of justice, legacy, and Latina empowerment. An indie icon in Stand By Me in My Own Private Idaho, River Phoenix sought meaning beyond fame. At 23, outside the Viper Room, he collapsed from an overdose. "No paparazzi, I want anonymity," he said shortly before. His death forced a reckoning with youth, privacy, and Hollywood's pace. Famed for faking heart attacks on Sanford and Son, Red Fox collapsed for real on set. No script, no joke. His final plea, "Go call my wife," underscored the urgency. Dead at 68 from a heart attack, his sudden end spotlighted how comedy legends often carry unseen burdens behind the laughter. Like a page turned too soon, Roald Dahl's story ended mid-sentence. When a nurse injected morphine, he muttered, "I'll beat," then fell still. Dying at 74 from a rare blood disease, the author of Matilda and Charlie gave generations magic, and a reminder that even storytellers can't edit their endings. She once embodied old Hollywood glamour, but in her final days, Ava Gardner whispered to her maid, "Carmen, I'm so tired." At 68, the stroke-weakened star faded quietly, her beauty undimmed. Her death deepened the conversation around aging icons and the price of being immortalized too young. Creator of the Muppets, Jim Henson taught kindness through felt and imagination. At 53, a sudden infection silenced his voice, but not his message. "Please watch out for each other," he said before passing. His final plea wasn't theatrical. It was human, reminding us that empathy is the truest legacy. He redefined Shakespeare for the screen, yet even at 82, Laurence Olivier retained a dry wit. Dying from kidney failure, he quipped, "This isn't Hamlet, you know. It's not meant to go in the bloody ear." The line, sharp and theatrical, became a fitting send-off for the man who lived in verse. With fiery hair and impeccable timing, Lucille Ball revolutionized TV comedy in I Love Lucy. At 77, after an aortic rupture, her final words, "My Florida water," were oddly tender, referencing a beloved cologne. That quiet detail distilled her humor and humanity into a moment only she could deliver. Like a rising star eclipsed at dawn, Rebecca Schaefer's life ended on her doorstep with a stalker's bullet. Her final cry, "Ouch, why? Why?" echoed through a stunned industry. Dead at 20, her murder ignited sweeping anti-stalking laws, forever changing how Hollywood protects its young and vulnerable. He romanced Doris Day on screen and redefined masculinity, but Rock Hudson's last words, "No, I don't think so," when offered coffee, were quiet defiance. Dead at 60 from AIDS-related complications, his passing shattered taboos and ignited public awareness, bringing visibility to a crisis long cloaked in silence. Josie, one word, shouted from the water, became Naya Rivera's last act. The Glee star used her final strength to save her son before drowning at 33 in Lake Piru. Her death didn't just grieve fans. It reminded millions that heroism can arrive without spotlight or script. The luminous star of Casablanca exited on her 67th birthday, still thinking like an actress. "Do I look all right? Give me my brush and makeup," she asked before cancer took her. Even in parting, she honored performance. Her final moment a reminder that beauty, like legacy, is curated with grace. He electrified SNL with chaos and charm, but behind the mania, John Belushi carried deep loneliness. At just 33, a fatal drug overdose claimed him. "Just don't leave me alone," he reportedly said, raw, unscripted. His death became a warning, reshaping Hollywood's approach to fame and isolation. As Sergeant Yemena on Barney Miller, Jack Sue mastered deadpan delivery, and death didn't stop the punchlines. At 62, battling cancer, his last words were classic, "It must have been the coffee." That final joke captured a comic's instinct, to find levity even as the credits roll. The man who spoke volumes without words offered one last line. "Why not? After all, it belongs to him." Said to a priest at his bedside, Charlie Chaplin passed at 88 on Christmas Day. The silent film icon's parting words were both surrender and wit, fitting for cinema's most eloquent mime. "Die, my dear. Why, that's the last thing I'll do." Groucho Marx couldn't resist one final zinger. At 86, the mustached master of mischief died of pneumonia, but not before proving that comedy, for him, was instinct. His parting quip now echoes as a lesson in facing death with style. "Damn it. Don't you dare ask God to help me," snapped Joan Crawford, ever commanding, even in her final breath. Dying of cancer at 69, the Mildred Pierce star refused to be pitted. Her words sparked debate, not reverence, cementing her legacy as Hollywood's complex portrait of strength and defiance. He gave life to Frankenstein's monster, yet Boris Karloff's final word, Walter Pigeon, was a quiet mystery. Dying at 81 from emphysema, the horror icon's passing left fans pondering the unfinished scripts of memory. His growls and grace linger, proving monsters can leave behind deeply human echoes. A symbol of 60s beauty and promise, Sharon Tate's last plea. Please let me have my baby, to her killer-chilled history. Murdered at 26 while 8 months pregnant, her death sparked outrage and fear, forever altering Hollywood's sense of safety and driving change in victim rights awareness. Couldn't bourbon, Tallulah Bankhead answered when asked what she needed, a final toast from a woman who lived unfiltered. Dying at 66 from pneumonia complications, the smoky-voiced star of Lifeboat left behind a blueprint for living loudly and on her own terms, right up to the curtain call. Mid-performance, Nelson Eddy clutched his chest and said, "Will you bear with me a minute? I can't seem to get the words." Moments later, the golden-voiced baritone was gone, dead at 64 from a cerebral hemorrhage. His final line echoed what he gave most: emotion, sincerity, and a voice that never wavered. The architect of dreams, Walt Disney's last written words were curious. Kurt Russell, no one knows why. Dying of lung cancer at 65, his final note wasn't a farewell. It was a spark, fitting for a man who built wonder from mystery. His legacy? A world still guided by imagination. Once a brooding screen legend, Montgomery Clift's last words, "Absolutely not," were a sharp refusal to revisit The Misfits, a film that mirrored his unraveling. He died at 45 of a heart attack, haunted but unbowed. His legacy helped redefine masculinity in Hollywood, making pain a part of power. With a soprano that soared through Golden Age musicals, Jeanette MacDonald ended with a whisper, "I love you." At 61, heart failure silenced a voice cherished by millions. Her tender farewell wasn't staged, it was human. In life and death, she offered audiences music wrapped in sincerity. A legend cloaked in vulnerability, Marilyn Monroe's last words, "Say goodbye to Pat, say goodbye to Jack," felt like a scripted goodbye. Dead at 39 from a barbiturate overdose, her death sparked endless theories and changed how fame, mental health, and womanhood were publicly discussed. Dying is easy, comedy is hard, quipped Edmund Gwynn on his deathbed, one final truth from Santa Claus himself. The Miracle on 34th Street star died at 83 from pneumonia, proving even in his last moment that laughter and mortality dance closer than most dare admit. Is everybody happy? I want everybody to be happy. I know I'm happy, Ethel Barrymore told her housekeeper, stage ready to the end. The First Lady of the American Theater died at 79 for heart disease. Her final curtain call filled with warmth, proof that true stars exit with grace, not silence. From Captain Blood to scandal columns, Errol Flynn lived wildly and unapologetically. His last toast? "I've had a hell of a lot of fun, and I've enjoyed every minute of it." Dead at 50 from a heart attack, Flynn's farewell became a creed for excess, charisma, and living on one's own terms. Half of cinema's most beloved duo, Oliver Hardy, died quietly, but not without tenderness. His last words, "I love you," were simple, sincere. At 65, a stroke silenced the laughter, but not the affection. The heart behind the slapstick proved that love, not laughs, lingers longest in the final reel. Like a curtain call whispered in shadows, Bogart's final words, "Goodbye, kid. Hurry back," echo like dialogue lost in the wind. The Casablanca icon, who shaped 1940s cinema with grit and grace, died from esophageal cancer. His exit marked the end of Hollywood's golden age. Cool. "That guy's gotta stop. He'll see us," James Dean warned seconds before his fatal crash. Rebel Without a Cause wasn't just a role. It was his prophecy. Taken by a car accident at 24, his death fueled America's obsession with youth, speed, and the myth of the beautiful, broken outlaw. Once hailed as the world's greatest entertainer, Al Jolson's voice filled theaters, yet his final breath came with stark, "This is it. I'm going." The jazz singer's star died of a heart attack. His sudden end closed an era, but his innovations still echo through modern musical cinema. Like a grand performance refusing its final act, John Barrymore quipped, "Die, I should say not," before succumbing to cirrhosis at 60. A titan of stage and screen, his wit at death's door became legend. His flamboyant farewell immortalized the Barrymore name as theater's most defiant dynasty. He once scaled palace walls with swashbuckling charm, Yet Douglas Fairbanks' last words, "I've never felt better," came hours before a fatal heart attack. The silent film hero's passing signaled the twilight of Hollywood's romantic adventurers, giving way to a new, more grounded screen masculinity. She was the original blonde bombshell, luminous, untouchable. But at 26, Jean Harlow whispered, "Where is Aunt Jetty?" as kidney failure overtook her. Her death shocked 1930s America, forcing studios to confront the toll of relentless stardom on fragile youth behind the silver screen sparkle. "Don't pull down the blinds. I want the sunlight to greet me," declared Rudolph Valentino as peritonitis stole him at 31. The silent screen's Latin lover died on his birthday, sparking mass hysteria. His radiant goodbye turned death into spectacle, sealing his myth as Hollywood's first tragic idol. Like a nomadic poet choosing his final stage, John Carradine's last words, "Milan, what a beautiful place to die," were fittingly cinematic. The horror legend, who gave voice to madness and grace, died from organ failure at 82. His farewell blended artistry and mortality with one final dramatic flourish. The Maltese Falcon's mastermind left not with silence but flair. "Knock 'em dead, honey," he told his daughter. Director John Huston died of emphysema, leaving behind noir masterpieces and generations of storytellers. His final words were encouragement, just as his films pushed others to dare greatly. Then versus Now Legends is feeling a bit lonely. 99% of you haven't subscribed yet. Show us some love and hit that subscribe button so we can keep bringing you the jaw-dropping journeys of your favorite stars. And if you're as fascinated by then and now glow-ups as we are, check out our previous videos. Trust us, they're totally worth your time and ours too.